I think the key word that you mentioned is the word opportunity, and I think that's a very good one. You may not realize it, but the Discovery Grant Program is the only research program that I know of within Tri-Council where you have the opportunity to do curiosity-based research, CBR as we call it, something fundamental. It's not particularly well liked by the present government, but I won't go there. But that's a reality. You have the chance to take a bit of money or whatever, and maybe even leverage it up with a partner downtown, with industry or whatever, to explore something potentially new and exciting that just, by the way, spun off from what I've been doing. And that just sends at least in my committee, just sends off everybody just likes that kind of stuff. But again, advice is don't spend it all on don't bail the bank out, but do some of it, because when you do a strategic grant, if you do a CRD or any of those, you are targeted, you have milestones in the story. This is different. Discovery grants are different. You do have that. I can tell you we are the envy of the world in this area. Americans have nothing like it. The Europeans, I sit on 2 councils in Europe, and Hong Kong, you cannot get away with this. You have to say exactly what you do, when you're going to do it in the story. We have an envious program, even though the budgets aren't the greatest, but they're still. So.
Okay, if you want the higher categories, then you need to have an element of surprise, of innovation, of also risk-taking. If you're going to say, okay, well, for the past 5 years we've measured A, B, C, D, now we're going to do similar measurements of the same kind, just a little better. You know what I'm trying to say? Well, then that's solid, sort of, certainly, yeah, but if you're going to push a little bit further, then you have a chance to get the committee excited, and then they might put you into the end. You want to aim for outstanding or exceptional. It's very difficult to achieve, but certainly aiming high is good.
Just wanted a clarification on the earlier one about the budget going up and down per year. My understanding is that almost always NSERC just gives flat budgets. And I assume if in some year you ask for less than what you're awarded, it would be capped in that year. But generally, aren't they just flat budgets? Because I presume everybody asks for more than they're getting.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you see 5-year budgets that some people just put the same number all the way across, and that also raises alarms in my committee, saying this person really hasn't thought out a proper 5-year budget, for this whole thing. HQP will train postdocs, maybe train prior PhD masters, different funding levels, and so forth. Equipment costs may be higher on the front 2 years and not so much on the back. So I always encourage people that I work with, at least right across the country, that I advise is to have a variable budget. And don't worry about what the lowest number will be, because when the bin comes in and your name is in there, that number, whether it's $28,000 a year or whatever number, will be the value you are going to see for each of the 5 years. In the old days, you used to get inflation. Those days are gone.
Well, I'm not quite sure what you just said, though, because you said don't worry about the lowest number. If the lowest number is below your bin, would you be capped? You'll just get a flat amount.
You'll get a flat amount. Once the team assigns that bin number, that's it.
Okay. So as long as some component of your budget was at that bin level.
That's what we see time and time again.
Okay. That was my impression.
You're right.
A follow-up on the renewal. What you mentioned that some of them basically fail or they're accidents. What are some of the key accidents and failures to those attempts at renewal?
For the renewal, you mean first
yeah,
time?
So people come up for renewal.
First time renewal?
Yeah, or even second. What are the key things that kill it? Like, just get this on down.
I totally agree with what was said before. I think probably very incremental, nothing new compared to what was done previously. And also if the HQPs who were trained in the same research program before, they did not fare that well, maybe in the job market or something, then that will raise doubts that why continue with the same thing if it wasn't so successful in the past. So again, the HQP, what they did, the people who were trained in that area, and whether the research is just the same old, preheated kind of, and so those would be
proposed is the same as what came before?
With some minor changes, as it was discussed before, that you measure the ABC, now you want to measure DEF, but ultimately those HQPs for instance, didn't have a very good career after they measured ABC, then why would they have now a good career measuring DEF kind of thing?
I would say that's not to say that you can't propose remediation. If you've had HQP failures, it happens so often that somebody decided they just weren't going to write up that PhD. Off they went, and that actually is a delay in research. That in our committee, that's a legitimate delay in research. If somebody just and if it's not the fourth or fifth person who's done that in your lab, because that's a flag. but that will happen in almost everybody's career. It seems to happen at some point. Then that can cause a delay. If you can make a case that that's caused a delay, then it's caused a delay. If your HQP, if there's some aspect of that you're concerned about, propose some form of remediation, whether it's co-supervision, visiting other labs, some way that if you perceive that that's a weakness, that you can address that, then again, the plan and the past are the two components of HQP. So if the past is a concern, then make up for it, try to make up for it in the plan.
Can I just ask a question? Where do you address that? Is that in that HQP section, or is that in the
the
other things that
freeform,
have
the freeform plan, but also sometimes in the proposal where you're inserting your HQP, you can support that there as well.
So I have a question about the first renewal. You mentioned that early career get a certain factor. If you had, let's say, 2 maternity leaves or some other kind of delay within your first 5 years, is there a formal of how do people take care of that?
Yeah, it's a delay. It's a legitimate delay, and you put in your start and your end dates, but then it's helpful to put in a description of what the impact was. So I was not at work for 6 months. Then you just take the accomplishments and you scale them as though those accomplishments applied over the 6-year period. And that's what we do. So we just scale up how many publications would that have been if you'd been there full time. If the delay is not, if it's an illness, again, not a long statement, but a brief statement of the impact is important. So not just the categorical delay, but what it meant. I was there, I wasn't there, I did this, I didn't do this. So helpful.
In your Canadian Common CV, there's an area that you can describe leave of absence as an absence from research, and you also have that opportunity to just clarify exactly why you've gone, what the impact.
Comment, isn't there also an extension option?
Yeah. You can.
Yes, you can.
A quick follow-up to this question, what if your HQP have had a lot of maternity leaves or parental
It's a delay.
leaves? And
It's
so
a delay.
It's a
That's a
delay.
legitimate delay. That's right. But you got to
If
stay.
your lab burned down,
Yeah.
we've seen this. If you work in a natural system where something in nature happened, your site was destroyed, those kinds of delays, absolutely don't make sob stories, but report legitimate delays, absolutely.
Just a couple of questions related to the financial part. You mentioned that there's a certain point where the budget seemed ridiculous. I'm just wondering kind of what you thought the thresholds there were, and how does that relate to the accelerator fund? You can comment on that, and also how are our discovery and RTI grants reviewed, if at all?
The RTI doesn't come into play here, so what do I mean? Let's say by a very high, maybe you might call it too high budget. I would say something that exceeds, let's say, in my committee, $200,000, per year. Yeah, that would raise a red flag that it's simply not very realistic. And again, the budget doesn't come into play when it comes to the Discovery Accelerator either. The Discovery Accelerator, that you raised a good point. We got, I'm not sure if my colleague will agree with this, but in my committee we got very clear instructions last year what to consider, who is a good candidate for Discovery Accelerator. And we were looking at candidates who are in the breakout potential stage. They haven't had yet a breakout, so they are not leaders yet or recognized leaders in their field, but they have the potential. So we had to kind of gauge based on the proposal if this particular application or applicant has a breakout potential. But it has, again, nothing to do with the budget.
But you're not capped with the budget?
No.
No, just to add to that, 7 years ago, I guess, I was a member of the committee that established the Accelerator Grant Program. And it was made to encourage younger researchers that showed promise, first renewal, second renewal, that really take the name in their program internationally, as you call it, breakup and so forth. It morphed into, it was being distorted the last 4 or 5 years to the point where a lot of senior researchers were getting 3 times $40,000 a year when they're already having $2 million. Now, that was never the intent of the accelerator, so we fought back and we won last year. And so last year was the first year where you cannot discriminate on the basis of age in any of this information, so you have to come up with another way. So we had to be very creative in our wording. If you read the wording of the accelerator grant, it's extremely creative. You may not appreciate it, but it is. That basically, even if you are a senior researcher if you establish yourself as international star, people know your name all over the place, you will not get an accelerator. I can tell you that right now. This simply will not happen. You have to be on that upward trajectory. Exactly. That's the original intent, only we could not talk. We used to talk about it as a senior researcher. You can't even use that word senior research any longer. So you have to be careful. And this, we were allocated in my committee this year. We were allocated. I got 9. I had 11 the year before, and I only got 9 this year. So. Okay, so we had 9. So you put 9 times 3 times 40,000. That's the budget that goes out, for accelerators. And by the way, contrary to what you may hear, you are allowed to get a repeat accelerator if you are back in the pot again. You're allowed 1 renewal of accelerators. So if you are really going someplace nice, and this is becoming an international program, and everybody wants to come and see your lab or whatever, and so forth, and you've got an accelerator. One measure is saying that's a good measure of the impact of this particular accelerator. Are they trading extra HQP? And this research is really in the prime, and this person's going. Another accelerator will be nominated. You may not get it, but the nomination will go in. Last year we had 27 applications out of 265 that were nominated, and only 9 got awarded, so 1 out of 3. So it's not, the scorecard is low, we know, but boy, it can make an impact on research.
For us, the key, what we talked about around the table was you can't accelerate if you're going full speed. So, you have to have the potential to move faster, and it was really the proposal that was driving that. And are there enough exciting ideas in the recent accomplishments and in the proposal to go, if this person had more money, they could do more. They could clearly do some really creative things. And so there pretty much had to be that strong component of innovation, a little bit of risk, a little bit of, this would be so cool if this works out. And that seemed to be the predictor of everybody getting behind that nomination. But you have to imagine that it will increase the course, not stay the course.
That's a good point, because last year I saw something which I didn't think I would see. Our committee awarded a 72-year-old an accelerator grant. That person's older than me. That's saying something. That's beside it. Anyway, 72, and this person was an earthquake engineering specialist. Came up with something that nobody else thought of. And it was taking it with some basic research money and starting to make a name, and the committee evaluated. I even questioned that challenge. It proved to me that I'm going to sign off on this. they convinced me that this person really had something new and different. Nobody else had thought of it. Earthquake engineering. It's not exactly a young subject, but it was so different apparently. But I'm not in that area, but